Hello and welcome to our virtual classroom. In today's lesson, we're going to go over 3 types of SAT reading questions: tone, attitude, technique, and inference. Now, tone, attitude they aim for the same thing, for the same type of answer. But there's like a slight difference between both. However, we're gonna discuss these two concepts simultaneously, like together, okay? Because they're kind of the same, but there's like a technical difference between both. We're gonna get into that right away. So far we have covered main idea questions, vocabulary in context questions, and now we're gonna go for the other 3 that we're going to discuss today. Let's start off with tone of the writer. Now, tone of the writer is the author's attitude, and it is conveyed through diction, choice of words. It refers to the mood implied by an author's word choice and the way that the text can make a reader feel. Now, the choice of the words, we call it tone, and how the reader feels, we call it the attitude, or the impact of the author's attitude on the reader. The tone an author uses in a piece of writing can evoke a number of emotions and perspectives. Okay, so writers intend on using provocative, emotional words that urge people to feel emotional, or it plays on the emotional strength of the people. Tone can also span a wide array of textual styles, from vivid to uninspired. So the tone could be neutral, quite neutral, if he's discussing a scientific research or he's just being informative. However, if he was like talking about an exciting topic, the word choice differs, the emotions like surface better. His tone generally shifts. So it all depends on the topic and the writer's style in writing. Now we're done with identifying. Here are some insights on this type of questions, which has to do with tone of the writer as well as his attitude. So the way an author uses sentence structure, words, and literary devices all shape the overall mood of a piece. So as we said before, choice of words, even sentence structure, and other literary devices, like devices that are used in literature, for example, making use of figurative language like simile, metaphor, personification. All of these shape the overall mood of a piece or of the passage we're reading. Now, sometimes tone reveals the attitude of a writer. Other times, tone comes from an intentionally affected writing style and reveals little about the writer's attitude. So it could be quite academic. We could be like reading an academic passage that has no attitude to it. It's just informative. It's just throwing information to the reader without having any feeling or detached from human feelings. Ultimately, tone is less about what an author feels and more about how that author wants the reader to feel. Okay, and that's of course by using certain phrases and words as well as sentence structures. Here we got a small exercise. Let's get into this exercise together. These questions are typically phrased in the following ways. You can pause the video and jot down these formats, different formats of tone, attitude related questions. So all of these are different forms of attitude and tone questions. Whenever you see these type of questions, remember to always look for the tone and attitude. So these questions, all of them are asking for the same thing. Now moving on to the exercise that we got. We got a little exercise to practice what we have learned. And it's on the next page. So let's get into that. Here we have it, guys. But before that, so here's a very, very, very important remark or something to notice and take care of whenever you encounter tone and attitude related questions. Whenever the word usage implies positivity, refrain from using or refrain from choosing off of the negative answers given. So let's say this is our paragraph and this is the question that has to do with or deals with attitude of the writer. Okay? And these are 4 possible answers. Let's say in this passage or in this paragraph, the writer chose to praise the subject or the topic, and he used or she used positive words. So what you should do is consider only the positive answers, okay, and delete or exclude any answer that has negative connotations to it. This will help you narrow down your answers into 1 or 2 possible prospective answers. Now, as for the example that we got here, we got a paragraph. Now, I want you to pause the video and try to do it yourself on your own before I go ahead and correct it. Okay. Parents usually do not insist that their children learn to walk by a certain age. Parents feel confident that the children will learn to walk within a reasonable period of time. When their bodies are ready for such an undertaking, teachers should adopt the same attitude when teaching children in school how to read. If teachers did this, children might learn to read much more quickly and experience less anxiety while doing so. The question is, the author's attitude toward teachers who try to force children to learn how to read once they reach a certain age can best be described as disgusted, accepting, disapproving, or neutral. Now here's the thing. Refrain from choosing absolutes or extremes. What do we mean by that? So, absolutes or extremes. What we should do is, whenever we see an answer that is 100% positive or an answer that is 100% negative or 100% neutral, there must be something wrong with these answers. Why? Because on the SAT there are no obsolete or there are no absolutes, to be honest. So if the The suggested answers are like extremely excited, for example. Totally indifferent. Strongly disapproving. All of these answers are most probably incorrect. There are two extremes. There is an exaggeration in the way they are worded, okay, and most probably there's a moderate answer. Always look for the moderate answer that isn't like quite overwhelming or overstated. So refrain from overstated, exaggerated kind of answers. Look for the understated ones. Something like disapproving or opposing. We didn't say extremely opposing, we didn't say totally opposing. We just said opposing. This is like some sort of moderate. It's on the medium side of, or on the center of the scale of exaggeration. So it's not exaggerating and it's not quite really understated to the extent that it's irrelevant to the question. No. Okay. Now back to our question. So we read that the writer is praising parents for giving time or for dedicating much time for their children to grow and like acquire skills essential for life. As for the teachers, they're not doing the same. How did we know about that? Well, the writer implied that teachers should adopt the same attitude, meaning they're not, or they do not have this attitude, or this attitude in them is lacking, it's not presented. Okay, the attitude of waiting for the child to grow and nourish slowly. Okay, they don't have the patience to do that, especially when they're teaching reading. Okay, they always rush these kids up until they're no longer like in favor of reading. So here the writer is saying if teachers did this, which means they're not doing that, because this is like a conditional sentence. If they did this, okay, children might learn to read much more quickly and experience less anxiety while doing so. So this means teachers are in fact promoting anxiety, they're like not giving them the right experience to read properly. They're also being impatient. So the attitude here from the words used, or from the word usage, is quite negative towards or against the teachers. So we have to look for a negative answer. Disgusted is a negative answer, that's a possible one. Okay, possible answer, choice A. Accepting, not really, because he was like somehow throwing shade on teachers, so choice B is excluded. Disapproving could be also a possible answer because it has negative connotations to it. As for choice D, neutral, he's not really neutral. Why? Because he took side, he's on the parent's side, right? He was praising the parents and then threw shade on teachers for not having the patience or for being impatient in terms of teaching children. Okay, so neutral is not applicable. We still have to. Now remember my first remark or first information that I have provided you with, which has to do with exaggeration. Always refrain, like stay away from answers with exaggeration, with absolutes. There are no absolutes on the SAT test. Keep that in mind. So disgusted and disapproving. Disgusted meaning like he cannot tolerate. Disapproving, there's a chance to approve with it later in time if they improve themselves. But for now he's disapproving. Disgusted means like it's so exaggerated and overstated. Here it's quite understated. So C is the most suitable answer. Remember, sometimes there are all like valid answers. They could work properly for or they could work as a perfect fit for the question. However, we need to choose the most relatable, correct, precise one that has to do with the passage itself. Now that was for the tone of the writer and his attitude. Let's see what's next. So here's more on attitude versus tone. Okay? Attitude questions require you to focus on what an individual thinks rather than the words used to express particular viewpoints. So attitude is the mood, is the impact the writer leaves on the reader or the test taker. So let's start with a straightforward example. This is an example and then it's followed by a question. The so-called machine learning approach. Let's highlight some words. Words that indicate attitude or indicate where the writer stands. Is he against? Is he with? Is he neutral? Let's see. This is our scale. And the answer has to be in between of these standards, neutral, positive and negative. It has to be in between, not precisely positive or not totally negative, because absolutes and exaggerated answers are incorrect on the SAT. So we start off with the so-called machine learning approach links several powerful software techniques that make it possible for the robot to learn new tasks rapidly. Learn new tasks rapidly is a good comment. Now, with a relatively small amount of training, now that's not quite like he's not stating these like information with excitement. Relatively small amount of training, okay, but still it's a good thing. Like it's a positive comment or positive feedback on robots or software techniques. The new approach includes a powerful artificial intelligence technique known as deep learning, which has previously been used to achieve major advances in both computer vision and speech recognition. Now, the researchers have found that it can also be used to improve the actions of robots working in the physical world on tasks that require both machine vision and touch. So we got a lot of positive feedback on this technique or this technology we're talking about. Okay. What is the attitude of the author? based on what we have read. So since the word choice are actually engulfed or encompassed with positivity, then his attitude is positive. He's like approving. Okay? He approves. Approving. He is with. He stands behind this this concept or this technology. He likes it. That's what we were able to infer from his word choice. So you as a reader, you have to assess, okay, now I know that the robot is actually, or this software is actually powerful. It improves things. It achieves major advances. It learns new tasks rapidly and with relative small amount of training. So I know that this technology is quite good and beneficial. Let's move on and see what's next. Here we have the highlighted words. If you have missed them, I always encourage you to pause the video every now and then, just for you to catch up with all the information given. Now, playing positive, negative with tone and attitude questions. What do we mean by that? Well, basically, as I said before, if the words are leading towards praising the subject or the topic, then there must probably are positive words. So we have to look for positive answers. As for the negative ones, same thing applies. If he is talking poorly about a certain topic or a certain person, this means that the attitude of the writer is rather negative. So the answers must be negative. Okay, any answer that is positive, we exclude it from the options that we got. This is a very helpful, straightforward strategy for eliminating incorrect answers and identifying correct ones. It will help you a lot on the test.